Hey guys, Coach Jason, welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. So something I want to talk about today that's it could be a cause of or just a problem or an issue or just a pain in the neck for a lot of runners and coaches, and it just plays with your head. It's the mental side. It's the mental game of running, and particularly in certain situations. And I want to go over a couple situations because I've had experience recently with a couple of my runners, and I think it's important to talk about it and just go over some perspectives and maybe give you some ideas and maybe get some feedback from you folks too. If you have feedback, put it in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're a runner or a coach and you want some good content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Take a look at the videos I've already put out. I put almost 200 videos out already, and and I'm going to be putting out a whole bunch more too. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification so you don't miss anything else. But hitting the subscribe button is really helpful too because it helps others know that the channel exists. And I'm really trying to grow the channel. I'm a little over 700 subscribers. I want to try to get to 1,000 in the next month or two. So your support's greatly appreciated either way. So I want to talk about this. Let's go over a couple scenarios. I'm going over my training book here. So it's one of those questions where you're nailing workouts. You're doing extremely well, and but the race times are not there yet. So. And my fitness indicates I'm ready for A, but I haven't put it together yet, whether it be a race or a time trial or something like that. And I know right now there's not a lot of races going on. It's difficult to get to them, particularly if you're not in the NCAA or the professional ranks. There were just not really many of them open to the masses right now. So it's frustrating. So a lot of our testing ourselves or performances are done during time trials and simulations. So I get it. That's tough. It really is. But it's still important to test yourselves, and that's one of the things that could play with your head, especially when you're either part of a group and you have a bunch of people around you who are kind of progressing along in races where a little bit ahead of you, and one of the things you don't want to do is compare yourself to them, and we'll get to that later, okay? Why do my workouts tell me I'm ready for this, but I'm not yet running that? I'm running this. Or why is my progress going along a little bit slower than I want it to? That's part of it too. As long as you're training consistently, you don't really know when your breakthroughs are going to happen. But if you do the right things on a consistent basis, you will put yourself in a position to facilitate these things, to make them happen. The thing is, and it's frustrating for coaches and athletes, is we don't really know when it's going to come. Sometimes they come quickly, sometimes they don't, and sometimes you need to make adjustments as well. And it's all part of trusting the process is important too, and we'll also get to that as well. Okay, so that's the one of the things, and it can really mess with your head. One of the things that are important to do is to acknowledge it and recognize that this is frustrating you, and and don't be afraid to do it publicly. Definitely communicate with your coach if you have one and talk about it, and so that you and him or you and her can work together to navigate your way through it, because it is important. And having a good open line of communication between athlete and coach is extremely important, okay? Particularly if you want a healthy long-term relationship in the sport. And again, what it also does is it helps shift your mindset away from the negative thinking, okay, and kind of say, okay, I've acknowledged this issue. What am I going to do to get out of it? What are the things that we need to do? And you may not always agree all the time, but it's important to trust the process. And if there's something you don't feel good about, communicate it, okay? Don't be afraid to open your mouth and speak, okay? As a 20 plus year coach, I appreciate when my athletes have dialogue with me, okay? I learn from my athletes too as much as they learn from me, and it's important for coaches to recognize that and acknowledge that too. It's not only one-sided here, okay? So that's important too. And what else did I write down here? And again, internalize that, okay? Acknowledge it, and use that as kind of a cue or a tool to kind of stop that negative thinking and turn it into positive thinking, okay? Or shift your focus into something positive, okay? Yeah, the solution, these are the issues, A, B, and C. We're going to get over this hurdle and get to D, E, and F, okay? So it's important to shift that mindset from negative to positive thinking. And one of the things, like I said, acknowledging it and recognizing it is one of the major steps to help you get to get that turn. Okay, to turn from negative to positive. So Do not be afraid to do that, okay? As frustrating as it may be, you're not a failure. This is part of training. And as you know, we train for months and months and years and years and years for just a few moments of paradise, a few moments of glory. That's the name of the game. That's the sport. But those moments are phenomenal when they happen. But you got to do the work, and you have to be consistent with it, okay? Through the ups, through the downs. Incremental goals too. Sometimes we'll have aggressive goals, and aggressive goals are fine, particularly if you know you're fit, or if you know your athletes are fit. But at the same time, making adjustments like this. Okay, so I'm running 20 minutes for the 5K, and my goal is 19 minutes, but I'm only at 1940. Okay, so we'll readjust the goals. Instead of going from 1940 to 19 minutes, we're going to shoot from 1940 to 1920. Break it up into pieces, okay? Or if you're having trouble with a simulation in a workout, break that up into pieces and focus on it, bit by bit, and work your way there. Sometimes you can't go from A to D. Sometimes you have to incorporate B and C as well. Okay? Well, most of the times you have to incorporate B and C, even though your fitness or other workouts are telling you that you should be able to do this. Doesn't always work that way, okay? Adjustments like this are totally okay. Make incremental progress, okay? As long as you're progressing, a little progress is better than no progress, okay? And again, really, really important to helping the mental side of the training, okay? And again, it can creep up, and whether it be a workout or a race or anything like that. But the last thing you want to do is let it creep up to the point where you're overly frustrated and discouraged. And that goes back to having an open line of communication with either your other athletes or coaches and stuff. It can really, really, really help. Okay, and there could be, then there's doubt. Like those types of things allow doubt, and also things like going from 5K to the half marathon, or the half marathon to the marathon. It may be doubt, like I've never been here before. Can I really do this, and so on and so forth. It's important to acknowledge there's going to be a change in training. But again, the change should be gradual to allow your body to adapt. And I talk about adaptation a lot in my training videos, from periodization and giving your body just a chance to get used to a different type of training stimuli. Very, very important to keep you healthy, to keep your athletes healthy. But doubt can creep up in your head, particularly if it's something new you haven't tried yet. You just don't really know. I don't know. Is this going to work out? And so on and so forth. So that's acknowledging that too is important. And how can I explain it? Addressing that and acknowledging it can also make you, more alert of the fact that you are willing to take more risks. And moving up in distance, moving down in distance, it's a risk. But think again too. If you've been training for 5K and you wanted to run a half marathon, think of the strength foundation you're going to build moving up to the half marathon, particularly if you want to move back down to the 5K. Or in the inverse, if you've been training for the half marathon, you want to move down to the 5K and focus on some shorter races. Think of what that more aggressive speed development component is going to do when you move back up. Help you make you more efficient with your running economy. So, which can either way, moving up, moving down, it can help as long as you're doing it gradually and intelligently and responsibly and consistently. Okay. And again, I've said this before, be open to your coaches about these doubts, okay? Don't be afraid to confront them. Don't be afraid to communicate them. And again, I mentioned earlier, it's very, very important to not compare yourself to everybody else. Why is he doing this? Why is she doing this? And now I'm not there yet. Well, and this is where, and I also say this in a lot of my videos, the easiest way to explain this is you can have 10 athletes, and if you give them the same workout program for the entire season, not everybody's going to respond the same way. Everybody's going to have different recovery components, different ability levels to absorb either long stuff or short stuff. So that's where individualized components of training come into play. And that's why it's important to not compare yourself to other people, because you're going to progress at your rate, okay? And sometimes it's going to be faster because you're adapting really well to the training. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit more time, and that is totally okay. Totally okay. This is not, training hard every day, beating your body up. It's not easy. Your body needs to recover. Your mind needs to recover. That's why off days and or an easy day or an easy week is important to kind of help recharge the mind and recharge the body. Okay, that's also important. There will be times where you're training fatigued, particularly early season when you're kind of still loading and training through things, but that's okay as well. as long as you have things set up afterward to help you recover and refresh the mind and the body so that you're really, really ready to go when it counts the most. Okay. And another thing that is important too that I think is helpful is visualizing. Okay, your goal. Visualize what you want to do. Visualize the race. Visualize the workout. And what that does is it also helps transition your focus from these doubts back to the focus on you. Okay, yeah, I have my doubts, but let me do some visualization. Let me visualize exactly what I want to do. That puts the focus back on the objective, the goal. Okay, what do you want to do? Instead of, harping on something, oh, I didn't get through it, I didn't make it. Totally okay. It happens to everybody. Okay, shift the focus on to what you want to do next. Okay, well, I'm going to hit it next week. This is how I'm going to do it. Visualize, whether it be a little bit every day or a little bit every other day, whatever helps you, but shift that focus back onto where it counts the most, where it's important. Okay, take the lessons from the past, but going back to the past is not going to change anything. Can't change the past. Let's make the adjustments and change the future. Okay, these aren't flashy things, but they're really, really important. Okay, towards helping you really, really put your mind and body in a good place. And being in a good place is important. And they're not always in the right place at the right time. They're not always in a good place together. That's why it's important to kind of just think about these things and address these things too. Because if your mind is kind of at ease and you're at peace, your body's going to be much more willing to test itself and push itself. So, provided you're healthy and doing the right things. So that, yeah, and again, health does not necessarily mean fitness, and fitness doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy. So those are other important things I'll talk about in other videos as well. Trust the process. Trust what you're doing. Trust the training. Trust your coach. If you have doubts in that regard, open your mouth. Communicate them with your coach. And if you're a coach and you have doubts about your athlete, you think something's going on, open your mouth. An open line of communication is extremely important. Again, and as I'm a longtime martial arts instructor too, you learn to kind of praise publicly and criticize privately. And I agree with that. I think constructive criticism is good, and as a coach and an athlete, you've got to be willing to take constructive criticism. I think it's important for your growth. Okay, and you learn from the mistakes, and those types of things will help you grow as an athlete and as a person. So, again, that goes back to the open line of communication. Just be transparent with each other. Okay. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just be open. Just be, let them know where you stand, and vice versa. They should let you know where they stand, and so on. So, communication is key. And and again, don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions, get answers. Okay. Learn more about what you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay. Those things a coach should be able to answer. Okay. Particularly if they're drawing up your training. It's important for them to be able to answer that stuff. Okay, if they have questions for you, it's important for you to be able to answer those types of things as well, because they're going to go by what they know about what you're doing. Okay, if there's something going on, if you have a job and it's wiping you out, it's important to let them know that so they can adjust your training. Okay, and on the flip side, if you think something might be, I've heard this. I think my body's not really responding well to this. Speak to your coach about it. Okay, he or she should be willing enough to make adjustments if you feel they're that important, okay? But they should also be comfortable enough to say, oh, I think it's important for us to stay here for a little bit longer because of this. We're in this phase right now. We're in this cycle, and it's going to take you to this cycle, okay? Both should be able to know how to kind of effectively communicate with each other and, again, know what you're talking about. So that's that's the subject of the day. It's just kind of the mental aspect, the communication aspect, and how it kind of ties into a lot of things that you do as a coach and an athlete. So I hope you found this helpful. Again, not flashy, but the details of this is very important. I've seen a lot of, just running careers not blossom the way they could have because of things like this. So where just the right fits were just became not the right fits because of lack of communication. And again, it's an important life lesson too. Being open and honest with each other really, really helps, keep things moving forward, which is where we want it to be. So again, if you enjoyed this, hit that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I'm going to get back to some really, really good training details. You'll have a lot more stuff coming, so be on the lookout for that. And be healthy and safe. Look out for each other, and I'll talk to you next time.